But first, we begin with a Fox News alert. Terrorists on the march. Al-Qaeda fighters in Iraq advancing closer, we're told, to Baghdad. Welcome to a new hour of Happening Now. I'm Eric Shawn, in today for John Scott.
And I'm Uma Pemaraju, in for Jenna Lee. President Obama just moments ago speaking about the threat in Iraq, saying the administration will look at a range of military options to help stop the terrorists, but will not send U.S. ground troops back to Iraq. Meanwhile, militants who took control of Iraq's Sunni heartland now seizing 2 towns northeast of Baghdad. Hundreds of Iraqi families cramming into vehicles and leaving amid fears of further clashes. We have team coverage on this escalating crisis in Iraq. Connor Powell joins us from Jerusalem and analysis from Chuck Nash. But first, let's go to Connor Powell, who is live with the very latest on this disturbing situation. Connor?
Well, Iraq's capital appears to be bracing for the worst. The fear there is that an attack by insurgents could come literally at any moment. Already, there are reports coming out of the capital, Baghdad, that martial law has been instituted there, and there are people in the capital that are beginning to flee out of fear of an upcoming assault. The country is crumbling right before our eyes. Iraq's Shiite leaders, both religious and political, are calling on volunteers to defend the country. Iraq is splitting along religious and ethnic lines. The pro-American Kurds in the north have taken advantage of the chaos and have captured Kirkuk, an oil-rich city they have long coveted, while in the west, which is home to Iraq's Sunni population, they are welcoming the Sunni insurgent fighters of the Islamic State of Iraq in Syria with open arms. Many Sunni Iraqis feel marginalized by this Shiite-dominated government led by Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, who has maintained strong ties with Iran, which is also Shiite. Now, Iraq's military is in shambles. It's crumbling. They are putting down their weapons. They are fleeing. They really aren't putting up much of a fight right now. And the government there is divided. They can't even pass a law in parliament declaring emergency, a law across the country. So the country is really divided. And Uma, the thing that's surprising the most people in both Iraq and really across the entire Middle East is just how quickly Iraq is crumbling right before our eyes.
All right, Connor, thank you very much for that update. Very troubling situation indeed, and one that we're following very closely. Eric?
Well, Emma, while the president said he is considering military options sometime over the next several days, he did not specify what the U.S. will do exactly to try and stop the terrorists from advancing on Baghdad and from becoming an even bigger threat in the Middle East and to us here at home.
This is a regional problem, and it is going to be a long-term problem. And what we're going to have to do is combine selective actions by our military to make sure that we're going after terrorists who could harm our personnel overseas or eventually hit the homeland.
Can they be stopped? And why has this happened so badly, so quickly? Joining us now is retired Navy Captain Chuck Nash. Captain Nash, you must be sick after all the American blood that was spilled, our nation's dedication and the efforts. And we're told some Iraqi soldiers just simply, surrendered? You got 4 Iraqi divisions, just poof.
I think it was 800 fighters overwhelmed tens of thousands of Iraqi soldiers, and they just collapsed. We're seeing castles built on sand, and with the inevitable happening. Unfortunately, the government of Iraq never fully incorporated the Sunni into the country in the new government. It's a very pro-Iranian government, Maliki. We've known that from the start. And the precipitous manner with which we departed the country, we have lost the big picture as to what's going on. And you now have a very nasty, capable, ruthless ground force cleaning up in the Sunni area. And you have the Sunni folks basically welcoming them. We'll see how that welcome lasts through the Sharia law that they're imposing. They're probably not going to like that. But at this point, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and the people in the Sunni areas, their enemy really is their own central government.
Well, can these stunning gains by that ruthless enemy ground force, as you put it, can they be reversed? And what happens when they get to Baghdad?
I think they can. One of the most interesting things that has occurred, Eric, is the Grand Ayatollah Ali al-Sistani has called on the Iraqi people to take up arms and fight for the country. Iraq is 2/3 Shia, and if the Grand Ayatollah gets the people to pick up weapons and man the barricades, so to speak. They can turn back from where they are marching now, which is down through the Sunni area, down into the Shia-dominated region of the country.
Well, that sounds like a full-scale civil war.
That's where I think we're headed. This is now to the point where the Sunni have been militarized, weaponized, if you will. Not that they had those weapons before, but now you have essentially a military force coming in. Although they're carrying the black flags of al-Qaeda, they are, in fact, Sunni. And we are seeing this thousands-of-year-old Sunni-Shia battle play out yet again in this context.
You talk about a 1,000-year-old, a religious battle. The president an hour ago said that they'll be considering a, quote, range of options over the next several days.
Yeah.
But is that too late? They need help today. And he talks about selective actions by our military. What realistically can we do, if anything, to try and help the Maliki government?
I think what our military leaders are considering now is what we can do from the air, either from aircraft carriers or land-based airports, airfields in the Gulf region.
Work? Can that stop this?
Well, it's a good question. Here's the issue. Will Sunni countries that have U.S. Aircraft in them allow those aircraft to fly into Iraq to fight against the Sunni insurgency?
And do you think
we
they
don't
will?
know?
We don't know.
We're gonna find out when we try to fly out of there. But this is we're right now looking at potentially being the close air support for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard in Iran, essentially, because the Iranian troops, Shia, are coming across the border into Iraq, and Iraq doesn't have any air power, per se, to deal with this. So if the U.S. were to look at providing air power, we would be providing air power for ground forces. And who are the ground forces? The Iranians?
That potential indirect partnership is absolutely astounding, but it is a very dire situation now ongoing. President not taking any action, he said, for at least several days, and we'll see what happens. Captain Nash, we, of course, always thank you for your time today and analysis.
You bet, Eric.
Absolutely.